Okay, you see, this just redirects to my website, and that's the feature that you can use to redirect the domain to that link. So let's say you wanted to redirect that domain. You wanted to redirect a domain like this, to that link. You can do that via Cloudflare, and that makes it easier for you because you can share this link and it will just redirect them to that. So to make that happen, there are two ways, but let me show you the most recent, the recommended way. And I can do that here under rules. If I click on rules, man, Cloudflare is always changing. This has been redesigned. So I'm just going to click there. Oh, actually they're there. So click there on templates, and you can select one template to use. Redirect HTTP, no. Redirect to a different domain, yes. So this is the one you want because it's redirecting from your domain to another domain. Let me select all incoming requests, custom. So let me use custom filter, and I want to redirect everything in this URL, HTTPS. I want to redirect this URL, and I can make it what we call a wildcard redirect. If you don't want to watch this, you can skip to the next video, but I know somebody will definitely want to know how they can redirect a domain to that page because you don't have a website. That's something you can do. Marketing, HTTPS. So redirect that, and I want to redirect URL static. I want to redirect it to this. Copy, paste. Definitely preserve query strings, and deploy. You can give it a name up there. Oh, let me just give it a different name. Let me click on it and say Mailchimp example. Save. Let us see what's going to happen for now, because the domain has one at the top that redirects it to my domain. Okay, so you can see at the top, this one will redirect it to my domain. So let me deactivate this for a moment, disable, and we're going to see if this is going to work. Control-Shift-P to open a private window on this browser, paste and go. There you go. Now it goes to your Mailchimp hosted sign up form. If you want to share the link to your form, you can have a subdomain like that, redirect it to this, and you share it on your YouTube, anywhere. For this to work, first of all, you have to connect your domain to Cloudflare. So that's just something I wanted to show you. If you don't want to use a subdomain, it's possible to use a path, but that is a little bit more complex, just a little bit more complex than this. This is the easiest way. So let me just do an overview to tell you how to go about it. Let me do an overview of this for anybody that want to redirect a custom domain to their sign up form hosted on Mailchimp. So the first thing, you're going to have to connect your domain on Cloudflare. Make sure the domain has a status of active on Cloudflare. I have a tutorial for Cloudflare free on YouTube. You can check that. And then once the domain is active on Cloudflare, go to DNS. Make sure that at least you have an A record, and the A record should be proxied like that. The www as well will just be a CNAME, back to the main domain, proxied like that. And then you can create the rules because Cloudflare uses the proxy status to do these redirects. If it doesn't notice that this is proxied on Cloudflare, then it's probably not going to bother with your redirect. So the first thing, you probably don't have an IP, so you can use some sample Cloudflare IPs. And the way I usually search for it online to find the sample IPs, the sample local IPs that you can use if you don't have an IP, I usually just search for Cloudflare alias. And this is the one, redirect one domain to another. So you can also search for this, Cloudflare redirect one domain to another. And when you search for that, you're going to get these IPs that you can use as a sample. So copy that IP, create an A record, and the IP will be, the IP you add will be that, okay? So add an A record with the IP you've just copied, and the CNAME, just use it. And the WW also needs to be there, so make sure you add it as a CNAME to that. And that's pretty much the second part for setting up the DNS for that to work. If your domain already has an IP there, it's being proxied through Cloudflare, then you don't need to do anything. You don't need to do anything with your records here. So the next step would be for you to create the rules like I did. First of all, go to rules, and then template, and then redirect to a different domain. Create a rule, and you can give the rule a name there. I chose custom filters. Actually, you can use the host name like that, host name. If it matches that, let's see if this one is also going to work. rwahowa.com. So if somebody goes to this, then URL will be redirected to, we want a static redirect. So the static redirect will redirect to this URL, paste, and let me give it a name, last MC, and then deploy. The rule may not apply to your traffic. Your DNS configuration may not be proxying traffic. Okay, so this is because I have not added a record for that. So you need to add a record for you also need to add a record for the subdomain you want to use, and I forgot that. But the good thing is Cloudflare can automatically do it for you. So just click there on create a new record, and the IP address, you remember the IPs that I told you about, the sample IPs, you can use those. And I believe even on Cloudflare, they are there. Yeah, you can use the sample IP and it is there. Paste, create and deploy. So let's try and go to small shop, open link in a new tab, and that also will redirect to that. So by the end of this video, you are now sure you can redirect a subdomain to your Mailchimp hosted form. So if you don't have a website, you can just redirect people to this. And the same is true for landing pages. If you create landing pages and you want to use a custom domain to send people to that, you can do so. So you'd probably have something like sign up, share this on YouTube. They come in, they subscribe, you give them whatever you're giving, and just like that, you have a workflow that you can use. All right, so this is what you call a utility video, because it just teaches you something that you might need at some point. So let me go back to my Cloudflare and enable my redirect. These two, I don't need them. I can delete both of them. Delete. Let's move on to the next part. We're done with the domaining things. We've designed the form. You've seen how you can design the form. Now we can move on to the next step. And let's see, which form should we tackle next? So the next form we should tackle should be the embedded form. So from the next video, we're going to start working with embedded Mailchimp forms. We're going to see how we can embed them on pages. If you want to embed them on a page, let's continue in the next video when we start looking at our embedded form. So let's continue in the next video.